Hi, I'm Rodi Srivastava,
I'm Anuradha Nagraj.
and this is The Migration Story.
$3.5 million workers come from 194 districts in 25 states. This is the type of migration now that is taking place in India. 400 million dreams. 400 million, which means 1/3 of India is on the move.
400 million dreams, but these are numbers, and there's a possibility that there could be more dreams. There could be many more people who are not counted for.
Yeah. So we decided to take the manufacturing sector and to map the presence of interstate migrants in that. So the study itself revealed that
Hello and welcome to the Migration Story podcast. I'm Aishwarya Mohanty, special correspondent at the Migration Story, and today we are unpacking a surprising turn in a major labour policy initiative from the Tamil Nadu government. This year, the state announced plans to carry out a comprehensive survey of interstate migrant labourers, aimed at understanding the patterns, living conditions and economic implications of in-migration to Tamil Nadu. But in a recent development, the Labour Department has now put that survey on hold indefinitely. When the Migration Story reached out to the Labour Department, they confirmed that the survey has been put on hold due to contractual issues. As reported by the Times of India, officials have frozen the exercise amid concerns about political reactions to the data and its political use in public discourse. In today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Bernard Sami, currently a senior fellow at the Loyola Institute of Social Science Training and Research, and who has extensively worked on forced migration. And with him, we will try to unpack what policymakers hoped to learn and achieve if the survey had gone ahead, and what the implications might be now that it has been paused for migrant workers, for state policy, and for how we understand labour mobility in India. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Sami. And to begin with, we would like to understand what kind of worker survey was Tamil Nadu planning and who were its intended beneficiaries.
Good morning, Aishwarya. As you indicated, the Tamil Nadu government, through its Department of Labour, they were aiming to do a survey on interstate migrants. They initiated this move, and then they have started work, and for time being they have suspended the work, and the sources tells me that this has been suspended temporarily due to the special SIR, the special intensive revision that is taking place in Tamil Nadu.
6.41 crores previously. In Chennai alone, about 14.25 lakh voters have been scrubbed off the final list. And this is largely due to migration, due to deaths, and of course, duplicate entries as well. Officials say this cleanup aims to ensure accurate.
I think once when that SIR is over, the government and the Department of Labour may resume this. So whether it is put on hold indefinitely or not, I'm not sure.
So, when we look at this kind of a survey happening in Tamil Nadu, I think this is for the very first time that such a survey was being undertaken. So why was this survey being discussed now? And if you could also shed light on what kind of gap was it trying to fill?
We worked 10 years ago. We conducted a study on interstate migrants because that time there was an accident, a twin tower collapsed. And then in that many migrant workers, they died.
चेन्नई में बीती शाम गिरी 11 मंजिला इमारत में दबकर मरने वालों की तादाद बढ़ती जा रही है। ताजा आंकड़ों के मुताबिक अभी तक 11 लोगों के मरने की खबर है, जबकि 26 लोगों को सुरक्षित बाहर निकालने में राहत और बचाव दलों
Immediately a survey was initiated, and the survey revealed that there were 1 million migrant workers were in Tamil Nadu. This is about a decade ago. So the migrant workers, then we went in for a study, and then we thought that we will do, because everybody knows that the migrant workers, they work in the construction industry. We wanted to capture the other industries or other areas in which, other works in which the migrant workers are employed. So we decided to take the manufacturing sector and to map the presence of interstate migrants in that. So the study itself revealed that there were 3 districts where the migrant workers work in large number in manufacturing sector: Chennai and the 2 neighboring districts, namely Tiruvallur and Kanjipuram. And we were able to do this survey, and more than 50% of the migrant workers were working in the manufacturing industry. Manufacturing in the sense that they are they are employed almost in all the manufacturing manufacturing works. They are all small and mostly auxiliary units, and even big companies, they give their works to the subsidiary units or to the auxiliary units, and migrant workers work in the auxiliary units. So in that way, the migration to not only to Tamil Nadu, migration to South India, it has been increasing over the period of time. And Kerala conducted a study where they estimated that the number is 3.5 million. And every year they also estimated that 1.8 are being included. But in the case of Tamil Nadu, after that, no study has been taken. So Tamil Nadu government was keen to capture the number of interstate migrants in Tamil Nadu. By the way, I must also tell you another very interesting development that had taken place a decade ago, 2015. We conducted a Tamil Nadu migration survey. This survey to capture the Tamils who went out of Tamil Nadu to work abroad. This is 20,000 households were surveyed, and then whether at this point of time anyone is working abroad. And now that the flow of migration and the volume of migration has increased, meanwhile the pandemic had happened, migrant workers returned, and they returned to their home states, source states, and then now by doubly they have returned. So in that way, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, all of them are receiving states, and this is what made the Tamil Nadu government to go in for a study, because they are found all over the Tamil Nadu. In all the 38 districts, they are present in small or in big number, in Coimbatore, in Salem and other places, in the textile industry. They are working in big number. So in that way, the Tamil Nadu government's decision to go for capturing the migrants through the census method, which means every migrant worker will be counted. So this is what they have undertaken. A good effort, but for the time being, it has been put on hold. I hope that this will be resumed, and the migrants will be captured in the days to come.
Interesting. Like you mentioned, the various places that migrants work at, and how in India also we understand that a large part of the workforce is informal. So when such a data is being collected, like you mentioned, through the census method, how do you consider that this becomes a powerful tool for workers? And also on the other side, what kinds of policy decisions depend on surveys like these?
In my opinion, I would say that in my experience of capturing migration, I would say a state like Odisha can be called one of the best states, one of the best ascending states, because now they are capturing the migration in every village. There is a village record to tell that people, how people are moving for seasonal migration and for circular migration. Usually the people move by the month of, now December. December they move, because December to next June there is no rain, which means that they can come to the southern states for work in construction and in bricklaying. So they come here. And then by the time June, July, when the rain starts, when the monsoon starts, they get back. And then for 6 months, they do the agricultural work, and then again they come back. So there's a seasonal migration. So Orissa has captured that. Not only they have captured that, they also have made policies like seasonal hostels in Kalahandi, in many of the Bolangir and Nuvapada, and in many districts which are migrant-prone districts in Orissa. They have set up the seasonal hostels, which means parents can leave their children safely in the seasonal hostels, where the children continue to study only up to 3 years. The children, when they are till 3-year-old, they accompany their parents. After 3, they can be in the hostels to continue the study after 5-6 years. And their education will not be disrupted due to the migration of the parents. So seasonal hostels, capturing the number at the village level, village records, these are all some of the best practices of a sending state. As far as the receiving states are concerned, Kerala can be considered as one of the best receiving states because in Kerala, they are not only, like other receiving states, they don't call them as migrant workers. They are known as guest workers. And that is the term now Tamil Nadu uses. And most of the press, publications also use the term, guest workers. And Kerala is very clear in saying that these workers are replacement workers because their own workers had gone to Gulf countries. Kerala's destination Gulf, their workers go to Gulf countries and make huge money, and Kerala economy is a remittance economy, and so their workers are not, they are not there. So the migrant workers, so they are included in all the Kudumbashri, whether it is Kudumbashri, the program for women, migrant women are included. The schools, migrant children are studying. They can study in their own language. Anyway, Kerala has Hindi, so most of them can study in Hindi. Otherwise, if the Odisha government, another good practice of Odisha government is wherever the children are studying, they are sending their educational volunteers, which means that the Odisha children can study in Odia. So like that, the schools are included, public health, all the hospitals, they welcome the migrant workers to give them treatment and other things. Tamil Nadu also is doing that, and Tamil Nadu is also included the migrant children in education through GBOs in the Tiruvallur district and in the Kanjipuram district. So in that way, I think some of these states, similar to the Interstate Migration Workmen's Act, Kerala has a law similar to the Interstate Migrant Workers Act. It is called as a Welfare Act, which means that the migrant workers are protected, they are taken care of. In migration, the whole question is whether the migration is safe and orderly. If we can ensure safety and orderly migration, then the migrants can move freely, and then all of us know that the migrant workers are adding wealth to the states, to which they come to work. So it is basically, economic development is possible only with the migrant workers and their contribution.
Interesting, very insightful points and the best practices that you mentioned from Odisha and Kerala. I had a follow-up question. So you mentioned that few of these states are doing it with support from different institutions. Now, if a state has to take up such a survey, what according to you could be the key pointers that one should keep in mind and the kind of information that we can collect and collate through this data?
The data is needed because policy decisions like their own safety and security and law and order, they need protection. So in that way, I think the data will be helpful for the state to give them protection and the job opportunities that are available. So that also is one thing, which some of the states are, the receiving states are able to make it available to the migrant sending states. These are the jobs for which we require, migrant workers. So in that way, the politicians can be, the line departments from home department, education department, industry department, skill development department. The Kerala has started 3 skill development centers, north, south and center, which means the migrant workers, they come to the state with some skills or little skill or no skill, upskilling them, the skills that are needed for them to work in Kerala in specific sectors, that can be imparted. So in that way, skilling, now being given priority and money and everything by the government. So this can be best used by the, receiving states to upskill the skills of the migrant workers. Basically, it is a demographic question because the population, the working, population or the working group population or the age population is declining in the southern states. That is the reason why the Kerala's approach of replacement worker is a correct term, because in their own states, in the southern states, they don't have their workers to do that work, and that is the reason why the migrant workers are coming. In that way, if they are included in the in the health department, the education department, if all of them are involved, more than the single male and single female migration, if the family migration is encouraged, then the vulnerability is less. Vulnerability for the migrant worker is less, and also the vulnerability of they getting involved in sometimes in criminal activities or in other things also is less. So in that way, the family migration and bringing them here and providing in the destination states all that is needed for them, their women food, for the children education and so forth, will make migration safe. And definitely the migrants are contributing a lot. They are working more hours than the workers in the state itself, and the earning is not to the extent to which the Kerala worker or the Tamil Nadu worker is paid, which is little less. But at the same time, it is also a good wages and good salary. So that way, the migration is in migration. What we say is triple win. The sending state is winning, and the receiving state is winning, and also the migrant worker is winning. So in that way, if migration can be a winning proposition for all the three, then all actors should act in unison, the sending, the receiving, and policies in place.
Correct. So again, like we talk about this data, we are talking about how states are taking up these surveys and how moving forward we might have a larger database to understand this movement. But in general, currently we are also looking at the absence of data. So do you think that this absence of data translates into exclusion of workers?
You're right, yeah. It leads to exclusion, it leads to the migrant workers, when the number is not known, the welfare measures cannot be extended, and the migrant workers also to a greater extent suffer. There is also a kind of a phobia that they are working in another state with fear. But once when a survey is taken and policies are in place, then the migration will be a safe one, because this is one of the SDG goals. Sustainable Development Goals 10.7 very clearly says that orderly, safe and dignified migration. So in order to ensure that, we need that. As you rightly said, we need data in destination states, which means the receiving states. We don't have a data. So the destination state has to make efforts with academic institutions and research institutions to capture migrants coming to that state. In the same way, it is equally the duty of the sending states also. This is what I am also insisting, that with the Odisha Migration Survey, Bihar Migration Survey and Jharkhand Migration Survey, sending states also should capture where the migrant workers are going. In that way, only the sending states and the receiving states can collaborate together in making migration, in facilitating migration more safe, dignified, and also, they can enter into agreements which will be of use both to the sending and to the receiving states. But right now we don't have data, and the data, as I mentioned in the beginning itself, it's all the census and NSSO. Now we need new sources, from where, like the migration surveys that are now taking place, the new migration surveys promoted by the research centers, if it can be taken up by the receiving and sending states, then we will have a robust database. With that, the migrants can be ensured safety and dignified migration.
Listeners, we will be right back after this short break.
गांव का तो बात ही अलग है, गांव का हवा अलग है, यहाँ का पानी अलग है, वहाँ का पानी अलग है। अगर यहाँ बीमार पड़ते हैं ना, गांव जाते हैं ना, बिल्कुल हम सही हो जाते हैं।
Delhi runs on the labor of nearly 1.3 million construction workers. Every winter, as PM 2.5 pollution pushes the city's AQI into severe zones, the government triggers GRAP emergency stages and shuts down large parts of construction.
Watch the video story on how Delhi's construction laborers survive toxic air and anti-pollution curbs only on themigrationstory.com.
Thousands of migrant workers are on the move, most of them on foot.
We saw a very large migrant movement during the pandemic, and even currently with increasing heat, when we look at heat waves, we've been seeing how vulnerable the migrant population is.
गर्मी पड़ रही है तो गर्मी में काम धंधा नहीं है, एकदम काम धंधा मंदा हो गया.
So when we have a robust database, or when we have such a database collected, what do you think, what would this data mean during crisis, be it heat waves, be it pandemics, or even industrial accidents?
Yeah, the database will help, to understand the migrants and their work and their safety and security in the working place. In that way, the state can play a major role in asking the small enterprises, medium enterprises, big companies which employ them to ensure, safety, security, and also the minimum wages, so on and so forth. Now that the labor codes are changed with the 4 labor codes, one on safety, occupational health, and on social security. Some time back, they asked for a separate code for the migrant workers. But the government said that, the migrant workers are included in all the 4 codes, and particularly in the 2, namely the social security one, and then in the occupational health and safety also it is included. So that way, the migrant workers, if the migrant workers can be included in the labor codes explicitly, and for that the state has to make the state receiving states should ensure that. As we all know that labor is in the concurrent list, and equally the sending states and the receiving states, the union government, they have a role, and the states also have a role. So the data collection and then policy making to ensure, the migrant workers' safety and well-being is the duty of every state, and that is possible only with the number. And one of the studies that was conducted by the union government with the title 400 million dreams, and that report is the latest report we have on interstate migrants. The point I want to highlight here is 400 million, which means 1/3 of India is on the move. And particularly from one state to another, interstate, which is a huge one. This is the number that they projected in the 2011 census itself, that at that time itself it was 309 million. They said that it is going to be 400 million. I think that it should be really 400 plus more million of people who are moving from one state to another for work.
Again, like you mentioned that, 400 million dreams, but these are numbers, and there's a possibility that there could be more dreams. There could be many more people who are not counted for. So when we look at these surveys, again, going back to what you had said, that we have these surveys going on in different states sporadically. Different states are taking up these surveys. According to you, what could be the best way to design or communicate such surveys so that we can incorporate more and more number of people are included into it, and we are able to convey the data points to the larger audience?
Yeah, to capture the migrants and to capture the migrants in any state is difficult. But the working group that was constituted in 2015 itself suggested that there can be mobile apps that can be introduced, and mobile apps can help the migrants to do a self registration. One is capturing them by civil society organizations, government departments, and others is one thing. Self-registration is another thing. So I think capturing migration is so difficult, and the migrants are also very, very, hesitant, and they are also fearful when the government and government agencies approach them in the receiving states for any data. Because the moment they come to know that their details are being collected, they think that they will be sent out, they will be asked to go back, and they have come for to make their livelihood. And if they have been asked to leave, then it will be difficult. So there are many, lot of myths are in the minds of the migrant workers. Very, very fearful. They are afraid of meeting any of the government officials, any of the government agencies. So if it can be, the whole thing is to remove this fear from the minds of the migrants through their language. For Tamil Nadu, if we are going to tell any amount of thing in Tamil will not reach them. In their own language only we have to speak to them, and that is the reason why we have designed the questionnaire, in all the languages. Not only in Hindi, but in many of the regional languages, because the migrant workers are coming from different parts of India. Kerala said that the 3.5 million workers come from 194 districts in 25 states. This is the type of migration now that is taking place in India. Gulati Institute in Kerala, they have estimated that 3.5 million and 194 districts from 25 states. So they are coming from different districts and different parts of India, and different languages they speak. And they are also very fearful, that if anything happens to them, they may lose their work. And because it's all, their states are also proper because of the remittance. The children are able to continue their studies because of the remittance, the money that they send back home. And in that way, I think the fear has to be removed from the minds of the migrant workers, and then only such a study can be conducted. In my opinion, whether capturing all the migrants in any state at any given time possible, in my opinion, it may not be possible. Only through the sample studies only we can do. And migration is not, like birth and death can be captured easily, but migration is a rare event. In order to capture any rare event, we need a larger sample survey, which means a larger sample survey in every state. If it is undertaken, then we can estimate the number of interstate migrants, and that will help the state to formulate policies in favor of the migrant workers.
You mentioned fear, and you mentioned how it should be removed, which is very understandable. Do you think that with that, in that aspect, can worker unions or researchers and civil society play a role there? And what kind of role can they play to push it forward?
Yeah, you are right. And that is the reason why the government is also now approaching the civil society organizations and, to do this work. Civil society organizations and their reach also may not be to the, but one thing they can do is a friendly approach they can do. And because they are not from government, the workers might believe them, but the workers are afraid of two of them. One is government, another one is their employer. When the employer also, when the employer gets all the details, they are afraid. Anyway, to an employer, they have to give, they give. But today, the 2017-18 economic survey, one of the sources said that 70% of the establishments, they have workers, who are less than six people. 70%. So if the establishments are going to have small number of migrants and more establishments, then to capture them will be very difficult. So employers can be one source, civil society organizations can be another source. Government also can be another source, but only thing the government has to give the confidence that in order to enhance their well-being and to, the fear of sending them out should be removed. In that way, if, all of them can work together, then it will be easy to capture the number of migrants in a state.
One more thing that we wanted to understand was, in India, do you think that data on workers and the migrant workforce is also seen as politically sensitive? And if yes, why?
It is politically sensitive too because of elections and voting rights for migrants. So how we are looking at the voting rights and political participation of the migrants. And, many countries have, given us a good model in this regard. Particularly for those who are migrating to other countries, they have given, the postal ballot and other things they have given. Proxy voting they have given. But as far as we are concerned, the migrant workers go back, exercise their voting right, and then they come back. But how many workers can go back during the election time to their state and to their constituency where they have a voting right to exercise that and to come back? There's a fear, but the migrant workers till this day, they have to go back to their state to exercise their voting right, and they have not been given any voting right in the destination states. So these are all major policy decisions, whether a migrant is eligible to vote, in a destination state or in the source state. So far, it is only source state. And the fear of more migrants coming to another state creates another fear, whether they all will be given voting right and whether they will turn the, things in favor of this party or that party. All those fears are there. So these are all areas where I think, policies have to be framed at the highest level, namely Election Commission, government and different government departments. They have to sit together and then look at this question. So in that way, what you say makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the end of the podcast. But finally, if you had to sum it up for our listeners, why does counting workers matter in a country built on their labor?
Yeah, the counting is very important because unless and until we know how many migrant workers are in a state, the policy cannot be framed and the whole migration cannot be called a safe migration. The duty of the state is to protect every citizen and to promote human rights. In that way, protecting migrant workers and promoting their rights as workers, it is important that we need to know the numbers. How to capture the interstate migration is a big question and it is $1 million question. Many states are trying in many ways. In India, we are also developing our own models of capturing in the destination states, capturing them in the source states. But if the data matches with each other, we don't know. But these different sources will tell us the volume of migration, which that the states will be able to make policies. As of now in India, we have, Orissa state can be taken as a model for sending state and Kerala as a receiving state. They have done many things at the policy level in order to protect, migrants in Kerala and Odisha, knowing that their workers are leaving, how best, migration can be made safe. That also they have done. So in that way, it is a learning process for everyone in India. And I think the capturing of migrants only will help us to make this whole migration safe, orderly, and dignified. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett, for joining us and sharing your inputs and insights on this very important topic. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in, and stay tuned as we bring in more podcasts for you only at The Migration Story.
Check out our website www.themigrationstory.com for more content. You can subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify. The audio editing and sound design is by Akshay Ramuhalli. Stay tuned for more stories on migration.
The Migration Story.